man, I don't enjoy making videos like this, where it's just sort of kind of a hit piece, if you will, just slagging off another fellow creator, even one that's much, much, much bigger than I am. I know the kinds of responses I'm going to get from this if some of his fan base gets wind of it and comes here and whatever, but it's kind of stuck in my craw this morning when I came across the news, so I want to talk about it just so I get it out of my mind so I can get on with the rest of my day, which includes, well, just kind of generally peaceful activities that I don't want to be constantly distracted by the thoughts of this crap with. Hello again, I am Blunty. So, Dr. Disrespect, the 40-year-old man whose real name is Herschel, let's call it, he performs on streaming platforms, playing games for his audience of, let's face it, mostly children and 20-something boys. I'm hesitant to call them 20-something men because the behavior they exhibit is not very manly in my eyes. It's very boyish, really. Herschel, the man who, in 2019 at E3, an event attended by about 66,000 people, took his live streaming camera crew into a public bathroom where children were, well, doing what people do in bathrooms, and this 40-year-old man didn't immediately go, holy shit, what the fuck am I doing? This was a really stupid idea. I thought it was funny, but it's not. There are children pissing over there, and here comes my live stream camera. This is a felony. No, instead he proceeded to peer over the tops of bathroom stalls and make jokes about it. 40-year-old Herschel, who spends his days playing battle royale games, whose player base is made up by a vast majority of children and young boys, like Call of Duty, Apex Legends, and Fortnite, has once again been banned. Now, being banned is nothing new for Herschel, in fact, because his entire entertainment shtick is him acting like a cocky, juvenile, verbally abusive jackass. It is, in fact, pretty common for him to receive bans. He was banned from the entirety of Twitch when he walked his live streaming cameras into a public bathroom full of underage boys, for example. This time, though, he got his Call of Duty account banned. Why? Well, he called someone a pussy. Pretty soft term by most people's standards, right? But it is intended, in the context in which it was used, as verbal abuse, something Activision has been desperately trying to crack down on recently, inventing a whole new slew of tools and controls and rules about that kind of behavior in their games, because their games are an absolute cesspit of them. Which is utterly hilarious in its own right, seeing as how utterly poisonous, hostile, and abusive and cesspitty the corporate culture within Activision itself has been revealed to be in recent years. And sure, there's an argument to be made that pussy is also a sexist, misogynistic slur, but then you'd have to start describing calling someone a dickhead as misandry, and that kind of starts to fall apart in the grand scheme of things. In the end, the actual word used is kind of unimportant here. It doesn't matter whether he said pussy or, the N-word. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. It's the behavior that's at issue here. The ban was for 7 days, and Herschel couldn't even respect that. Instead, he basically immediately jumped on an alternate account, supposedly belonging to someone else, to evade the ban. An action I'm sure is probably also against the terms of use, as ban evasion is basically always against the terms of use for most services we sign up for a good reason. Because without it, bans are irrelevant, as Herschel is demonstrating. I should probably chill on this account, chaps, said Herschel, in character as Dr. Disrespect, during his supposed ban. He continued, I mean, with the proximity chat, this is not even my account. They banned my other one for 7 days for proximity chat use, believe it or not. No, Herschel, we believe it. We totally believe it. No one on this earth doesn't believe you are banned for your use of proximity chat. We know what your shtick is. Your whole dipshit stick. The entire point of it is about being an asshole. That's your one and only, quote-unquote, comedy hook. That's all you're known for. We all believe you got banned for being that. You, Herschel, found out, like a 2-year-old of average intelligence, that acting out in ways you already know will be considered shitty and unacceptable is a fantastic way to attract attention. And like that 2-year-old, you don't care what kind of attention it is, so long as people are looking at you. So congratulations, we're looking again, Herschel. Look at you, you're the center of attention again. Don't you feel special? It's not a sophisticated psychology you're operating on here, Herschel. We all see directly through you. You know that, right? And your shitty behavior is popular amongst boys in particular because they see you being quote-unquote successful with this tactic, and they see that as a license to also be shitty to people with impunity. You're leading by example here and actively generating more arseholes in the world. Whether or not you consider your arsehole to be an act or not, you are generating real ones who actively disrupt the gameplay for other people. You're the problem here. Now, obviously, in games like Call of Duty, the whole damn culture around it is toxic beyond belief and pretty much always has been since, well, maybe before voice chat even text chat in many online games way back when was super toxic. And that's no secret. Those of us who've been around long enough, as you and I have, Herschel, know this quite well. And most players who call someone else a pussy, yet they won't get banned like you were. You're right about that. Hell, while whimpering about not caring at all, while very clearly caring quite a lot about his ban, Herschel played a clip where another player called him, specifically I think, a very aggressive racist word. The one that starts with N. And Herschel was claiming that that person got away with it and how unfair it is that he got banned for just saying pussy. What a soft word, pussy. But the other person used the N-word and they didn't get banned. In truth, we actually have no idea at all if that other person received a ban or not. But the story Herschel was trying to tell, the straw man he was trying to construct, was that this other person got away with it and he was banned for a week for saying pussy. Therefore, it's unfair. He was being picked on. He was being targeted because he's popular. It is disingenuous at best, Herschel, and we all see right through you. Now, Herschel probably isn't a complete moron. I mean, he once had a job as a level designer for some of these types of games. You know, you're not a complete idiot if you can accomplish that much at least and get a job in the industry like that. So let's take it at face value. He's not, in fact, a complete moron. And he probably knows full damn well that Activision banned him specifically to try and set a very public example, a precedent that this behavior is not welcome in the game they publish, and the best way they can get that message out is by making a very loud noise about it. For example, by banning a very high-profile user whose whole entire shtick is being abusive. Herschel went on to claim that the community team is out of touch for banning him over a recorded clip of his own gameplay. They're out of touch because they noticed he was being abusive and went, hang on, that's against the rules. Let's enforce the rules. That's the community team being out of touch, apparently, in Activision's game where they're trying to crack down on abusive behavior. I'd suggest it's Herschel himself who is wildly out of touch. Whether or not someone else gets away with shitty behavior while another person gets caught and punished because they happen to be a very publicly visible figure is irrelevant to the standards being set. Just because you know someone who got away with shoplifting doesn't suddenly make it unfair that someone else, or you, gets pinched for the exact same wrongdoing. It's still wrong whether or not you get caught and punished for it. Not getting caught and punished for doing something wrong doesn't magically make it right. And someone else getting caught and punished for doing something wrong doesn't magically make the rules unfair. Being an abusive shithead in chat on this game is very clearly stated as against the terms of use, and once more, the word at the center of this is not the issue. How severe the word is compared to another one, when the wrongdoing is the act of abuse itself, is irrelevant. And then, of course, you'll get the disrespect drones, as I've been calling them for a few years now, or as Herschel refers to his following of abuse-thirsty cultish young boys, champs, who will come to his defense with claims that this kind of verbal abuse is just part of the game. If you can't deal with it, don't play the game. Hands up in chat how many times you've heard that shitty, stupid defense of abuse in online games. It's just part of the game. It's just part of the culture. Deal with it. And yeah, it is part of the culture of the player base, and that's the problem, you half-wits. That's the problem. It's not a good thing that that is the culture of these games. Just because it has been like that for some time doesn't mean it should be like that, doesn't mean it's acceptable for it to be like that, doesn't mean people won't try and change that, like, for example, the community moderators. Just because shitty things are pervasive doesn't mean other people have to stop trying to stop them being shitty. Idiotic. No publisher of a commercial product wants one of their most valuable properties to be seen as a hyper-hostile cesspit of vile, hateful abuse, racism, sexism, and general bigotry and jackassery. Of course they're going to try and change it. Of course they're going to want to have their game seem like it is welcoming because, well, they want more people to play it. And oh my god, if there's anyone out there I really actually have to explain this whole process to, there is really no hope for you. I don't know how you've managed to get this far through the video. You probably haven't. And it's people like Herschel who popularize hostility and abuse as a alleged comedy stick, these bro-hard edgelords, who are the seed from which more abuse grows because they normalize it, they popularize it. And even if Herschel truly believes his shtick is all in good fun, is in fact pure comedy and harmless in every way, I guarantee you the example he sets and the victims of him and the people he inspires to be similarly hostile and abusive online, in-game and out, well, the people on the receiving end probably don't see the funny side of this so-called performance of abuse. Herschel Beam, aka Dr. Disrespect, has, almost unimaginably, no perspective on what he is doing, or seemingly acts like he has no perspective on what he is doing, no empathy for the abuse victims that his so-called act generates. It is borderline sociopathic that he doesn't recognize this or refuses to publicly recognize this and say something about it. As a fellow Gen Xer in his 40s, I can say very directly, this stupid cunt should know better by now. Grow up, Herschel. Now, Activision and Herschel know this ban is effectively meaningless in the long run. Herschel has already avoided the ban by just using a different account. Activision are too cowardly to permaban him, like Twitch did, because they know his petty and vile antics actually do bring in viewership and help sell games because, well, a lot of young men out there want an excuse to be shitty because they don't want to take personal responsibility for the things they say. But the thin hope is, by activating bans on highly public figures like Herschel, maybe some of his brain-dead copycats will think twice before engaging in the abusive behavior, as their accounts are a lot less valuable to Activision Blizzard than Herschel's is, so they might be permanently banned and won't be able to play their game anymore. That is why you were banned for calling someone a pussy, Herschel, and if you don't already know that, maybe you are far dumber than I have so far given you credit for being. And for you, Herschel, to be out there playing victim yourself, whining about it, while evading the ban simultaneously, pretending you don't care, but making a point to talk about it in the framing that you have done, and strawmanning the way you have done, to try and position yourself as an unfair target of all this, you fucking sicken me. For a tall bloke, you sure act like a pathetic little man. To the rest of you who haven't been speaking directly to necessarily because you are good people and hopefully have agreed with pretty much everything I've said here, and yeah, actually, you know, Herschel is a bit of a twat, isn't he? Bit of a pussy, you might say, pretending he's the victim here. What a pussy move to pretend you're the victim in all this. Thanks for watching. I'm Black. We'll catch you next time. Thank you as always to the patrons.
This will not happen again.